You're looking at these men. They were not trained to be killers. Some are accountants, some are, bookkeepers. They run a farm. They make a living. And now they have to carry a gun.
Welcome to What Came After. I'm your host, Manya Marcus. On What Came After, we'll take a look at the many ways that people's lives changed on and after the brutal massacre in Israel on October 7th, 2023. We'll be speaking with people in Israel and around the world about how the devastating attack by Hamas has shifted, shaped, and changed them. To learn more about our podcast, please visit us at whatcameafter.com. Today, I'm joined by Jeff Seidel. Since 1982, Jeff has introduced thousands of college students to their first Shabbat experience, as well as offered free tours and classes through his Jewish student centers at Hebrew University in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv University, Ben-Gurion University in Beersheba, and Reichman University in Herzliya. He has lived in Jerusalem's Old City for over 30 years, where he has established programs to connect tens of thousands of people to the land of Israel. He has also authored the Jewish Traveler's Resource Guide, which lists Shabbat placement programs around the world. I am here today with a very special guest. That's you. I would like you to introduce yourself.
My name is Jeff Seidel. I'm a former Chicagoan, Skokian. I grew up there, and at 22, I came to Israel. I was not someone like who grew up and saying, I want to live in Israel. I just popped in here and I stayed. This is now my 42nd year that I've been here.
So when I think about Jeff Seidel, I think of you as 1/3 human, 1/3 movement, and 1/3 institution. We're sitting in your offices. A lot of work happens here. Can you describe what you do here?
I get the job done. I do what has to be done. In other words, right now we are in a situation this year of a war. So I guess I reinvented a little bit the wheel. I reinvented what I'm doing. I expanded my operation to now the need of the soldiers, where we go to the bases, wherever they are. Down south on the border, I've been there. I've been up north where you can't even go on the lookout. They might shoot you from Lebanon. And we do barbecues for the chayalim, for the soldiers. We do them 3 times a week. We go to the hospitals and talk with the soldiers, mostly in Tel Aviv. We bring food for them, presents for them. And it's not what I started out to do. I've been working for many, many years, which I really love, working with college-age students, graduate students. That's what I really enjoy. If they pop in here, I just pop up. I get the energy. And what happened was, the war broke out October 7th. I'm going to tell you around the 14th of October, 15th, we started doing barbecues, right? What happened was at my Hebrew U Center, which is right across from Hebrew University, there's a hotel, I think it's called the Jerusalem Hotel, and you had people from the north staying there, and we went there, my staff, to see how we can help them out. Now these people, they're still there, and they use my center to cook. The women come all the time, use my kitchen because I'm 2, 3, 4 doors away. They come in all the time. Do you like to get out? So they come and they cook by us. At that time, everybody was scared in Israel. They're scared to walk out of the house. We didn't know what's going on. We didn't know how many terrorists were still around, if they're going to attack us again, because Israel was caught off guard. So they would bring to the hotels, people from the north came, because, we didn't know what's going to go on. They might be bombing and stuff. And they stayed in the hotel next to Hebrew U, and they'd bring soldiers with them to protect them. So we used to make a barbecue for them, the soldiers, at night. And they all came. And they came 3, 4 nights in a row. And, we'd sing with them, and they would talk to us. And really, they spoke to us. Many were young girls also. That was part of their job.
Young girls who were soldiers.
They're part of the Mishmar Gavul, the military police, which is, yeah. I mean, you had gentlemen that were there, let's say 50, 60 years old, who are once again going back in the Army. Some were not obligated to, but they did it because they felt it's their obligation. I remember to a young girl, she must have been 22, 23. They had another young girl there. She made Aliyah from a South American country. And I had a sponsor on the phone. And she spoke to the sponsor in Spanish. Sponsor loved it. Loved it.
Now, when you refer to sponsors, who are you talking about? What have they sponsored in the past?
I'm always on the prowl, always looking around for sponsors for our barbecues to help the soldiers out.
So now you're doing barbecues, but you've been looking for sponsors for many different things over the course of the last many decades. I look for sponsors
for my Poland trip. I look for sponsors for my Jewish learning programs once a week, for the Hebrew students, for the Tel Aviv students, for the IDC students. I have a whole list of things that I do. And if you would give me a couple different ideas that I like them, I can go for it. I will go for it. My job is to do whatever I can to help anybody out, to bring them closer to Judaism and to Israel.
This is something I want to talk about for a second, because one of the things that's remarkable, I've been to one of your barbecues, and we also spoke a few minutes ago about a patient that you visited in hospital. You also have cultivated strong relationships with non-Jews. You have South Korean folks who are here. You visited with a Chinese man who was injured during the war. Mm-hmm. How do you develop those relationships, and what have they been like since the start of the war?
The Korean team, they come and they have a certain desire inside them. They live in Israel. There's a core of them who live here. Other ones come for like 2-3 weeks. They're not Jewish. They found me and I found them and we hit it off. They come to my barbecues maybe twice a week and they prepare sushi. I don't know what the Korean name for sushi is. I apologize. I hope they're not listening. I hope they are listening, but I hope they don't get mad at me because they'll say, Jeff, I told you 10 times the correct word for sushi in Korean.
I think you're forgiven.
And they prepare that day at my Hebrew Youth Center. They sit there in tables there and prepare the whole sushi and cook it and whatever. And then they do the final preparation, I guess, at the Army base. And the soldiers enjoy it very much. It's a special treat for them. Besides having hot dogs and steaks and sodas and salads, they're getting sushi.
I think it seems really important for soldiers to know that there are people outside of Israel and the diaspora who support what's happening here because of this enormous rise in hostility to Israel.
There definitely is. I mean, you turn on the news, even like right now, the Olympics had something happen where they were saluting Heil Hitler. I glanced at that. I mean, you can glance every day at articles about anti-Semitism or anti-Israel. And these soldiers do read it. They read the news. And they feel very, very special, honored, befriended by us when we come. And especially when the Koreans come also, because they see a different sort of people that are there. They really enjoy it. To see people that care about them and that they drive all of a sudden, let's say from Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, 2-3 hours to their base, it warms their heart. It gives them chizuk, strength. It gives them encouragement. But it also gives us the same enjoyment and encouragement to keep on going. We were at a base last night down south, a couple hundred people, soldiers, and they were going into Gaza the next day. They're going to be in Gaza 2-3 weeks. I had another base we were at. We're supposed to help out 2 different branches of the base, right, with a barbecue. We were able to only help out one of them. The other unit was training for Gaza for the next day. And they spent 2.5 weeks in Gaza. I've gotten phone calls from students of mine who are in the Army, who are in Gaza, Friday, like 11:30 in the morning, saying, Jeff, I just got permission to get out of Gaza. Can you get me a Shabbat meal? And then they sent me a video of Gaza, the houses and everything that's there. We are on our way out of Gaza to Israel, Jeff.
You have a lot of personal connections also. In addition to the students, the soldiers that you're meeting now, you have close relatives, I believe, who are serving and have served. You have family who are there. I believe at least one of your sons.
I've had one son, Kanina, who was in the beginning of the war for like maybe 3-4 months in a tank in Gaza, in Khan Yunis and everything. I have another son who's now going to go next week into his 3rd shift in the Army and his 3rd different Army base. He did not get out for Pesach Seder. That one son. And my two son-in-laws are now in again. One currently is in Gaza.
So you're also visiting wounded soldiers, and
Sure.
you have sons-in-law and sons who are doing this. And you're also incredibly energetic and cheerful all the time, I think. Do you ever fall apart? What's the human side of this for you?
I mean, there are times at night when I come home or I sit there in the day after, I say, wow, that was something, to see those soldiers like that. A gentleman without a young boy, his leg amputated or no arm. And it's just sad that Israel was tossed into this war. Okay, there are people who are going to always argue with that fact, but we did not attack. And I don't think we don't want to go into that. But what I'm really realizing, I think I realized it after all this time, was last week I was at an army base and they asked me to speak. And I speak sometimes when I have to. So I spoke. They're all looking at me, all these soldiers. I'm not sure if they're trying to understand my English, but you're looking at these men. Again, young men who are like 22 years old, 20 to 60, 55, 60. They were not trained to be killers. They went to the, IDC, or they went to Hebrew U or Tel Aviv U or any Ariel University. And some are accountants, some are, bookkeepers. There was a bunch of doctors that were there. They run a farm. They make a living. They go home and they make a living. They work, let's say Sunday to Thursday, Sunday to Friday, whatever it is. And now they have to carry a gun and shoot people. It's unbelievable. It's like you go to college. Let's say you're at Hebrew University, or if you're in America, you might go to NYU. You're not looking to go out and shoot somebody, even to defend your house, let's say. You're going, I go to NYU and I get a degree and now I got to get married and, live out in the suburbs and the whole thing, right? These young men and women, they got to put a gun in their hands and they got to shoot. Those guys are going into Gaza. They're not going there for a picnic. They're not going to sightsee. I met a girl a couple months ago. It was in the Air Force Base. Very, very nice young gal. And I said to her, like, what are you doing here? Are you a pilot? What are you? No, I'm a mechanic. I says, you're a mechanic? I said, is this what you want to be in your life? No, but I'm doing it because this is what I have to do to help Israel. It was really something to see, mostly, don't laugh. Mostly you find men are mechanics, whatever it is. It's a young girl, she's a mechanic.
What about your sons? Are they doing okay?
Yeah. But like I said, thank God they're doing great. But we also look at it as this is our job. This is our life. This is part of living in Israel. And unfortunately, like I said, we are tossed in the situation where we have to defend Israel. And now's the time where we have to show up and defend Israel.
There's something that I wanted to ask you, which is, what is it like for your family, your wife, your kids, to share you with all these people? Everyone I've spoken to since I've been here and in my own community back in Skokie has a Jeff Seidel story. This is true. It's pretty remarkable. And I have been thinking, what is it like for your family that you belong to this community so much?
Well, until the war started, it was basically only with like the Americans or the French or those people, right? Where people walk by and they say hello to me all the time. My wife says walking with me sometimes is like walking with the Queen of England. Okay. Now that I work at the army bases with the soldiers, I go to the shuk at night. I go to the club, invite them Thursday night or Wednesday night for Shabbat. Israelis walk up to me. You did a barbecue by me.
You're saying your family now shares you with Israelis,
yes, with Israelis
and
now
the diaspora.
Also. I walked out of my office, just stood there looking around. The Israelis walk by and they say, Ala Aish, on the grill, that was you. And Israelis call me all the time now if I can help them out. Sometimes helmets. Now sometimes Israelis who are off and they're going to Europe or New York, whatever, America. They ask me for places to go for Shabbat.
You posted a status on WhatsApp.
Uh-oh.
July 23rd, I think, 2023. It's still up. I think it says, start me up and I'll never stop.
Oh, you know it.
And I said, okay. He put that up before the war. Have you stopped? Have you taken a break? Have you gone on a vacation? You've recruited donors. You've gone on trips.
How can you take a vacation? How can you stop? Someone asked me this question. Reporters called me this morning and they said, like, what is my motivation and why do I do this?
Good question.
Why would you not do this? I don't understand your question at all. At all. I cannot understand it. How, when you have a situation, whatever it is, and not reach out to help it and do something?
I said vacation, not never stopping, but don't you need to recharge? That's why I say you're kind of a phenomenon, a movement, because
Right now, I have no plans right now these days. I'm taking a vacation. I had to go to America for business, and I had to go to England to fundraise. And every second I was away, I was torn. Back, forth. Don't think, when I was sitting in America, New York, that I was sitting there, having a fun time. I really was torn. I was on a phone a lot with Israel, what we got to do in England too. Yeah, I can't. Right now to take a vacation, I don't see it. I don't see it at all. There's still a lot of work that has to be done. And even now, as we're heading into the September season, let's call it, the next academic season, I have to make sure that those new students who are coming, that we're able to get them on board to help out, to help the soldiers out, to get more involved in Israel, to get more involved in Judaism, especially when many of them attended universities in North America that are anti-Semitic. And these kids, the young people, some go to NYU, they go to Columbia, where they're not actively stopping anti-Semitism. I firmly believe that there should be a movement. They should bring many of the administrators, deans of the major American universities to Israel for a tour, to see it. They bring now a lot of non-Jewish students to see Israel, so they should get a perspective on it. Obviously, we bring Jews to come here on birthrights and other programs, but you need to bring, I think, those presidents of the universities to see what Israel is about. I know there recently was one, I think, of Columbia University, was just here. They wanted me to speak to them.
Did you?
Well, they told me the last minute, and I was like up north at the Army base, and they were, down south, so I couldn't do that.
A minute ago, you started to say, I asked you about your sons, and you're starting to say Baruch Hashem, which is thank God. And then you switched to thank God. And I realized you converse with people across the entire religious spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
You know how to speak every kind of Jewish, I think, that there is. And you probably also worked with people across all political affiliations.
But I could be working with more. I feel, honestly, you say going on vacation, I feel I'm not doing enough. I always looking for new ideas and new sources also to help out more people.
But my question right now is, how do you engage with people who are in like Jewish Voices for Peace or Jews who go into these kind of like pro-Gaza encampments? Have you encountered Jews who are actively anti-Israel? Do you know how to have that conversation?
I try to avoid it. I really try to avoid it because some of those people are strong supporters, and you're not going to change them.
Supporters of
anti-Israel. You're
okay.
not going to change them. You got to work at like the undecided voters, the undecided people that can go either way. Somebody that's up there waving that flag, from this river to the sea and all that, and they mean it. You're not going to change them. You're not going to. We got to go after the undecided people.
And it seems like you think there are a lot of Jews who fit that description.
Yeah. When you sit there and you talk to these young people that I do, they're the ones in Tel Aviv, all over, they're not sure. They understand a little bit of Israel. And thank God they're here. Thank God they come to Israel. That's really important. But all the facts that are going on, they don't know them all when they hear something. I send out articles all the time to the young people, what's going on. Our job is to help them out because if I want them when they go back to college also to understand Israel. So when someone walks up to them, they know how to answer or they feel good about themselves. Right. They feel good about Israel.
How have you changed since the war started? Have you changed?
Well, my days are cut short because we leave here sometimes 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 4:30 for the Army base. So I have to leave the office, or I miss, sometimes the Kotel area, the students are the Jewish quarter. We go to the base. I don't mind coming home 1, 2, 3 in the morning. That doesn't bother me. but I have to miss part of my day here a little bit. It's just also a different angle. When that bus of college kids or Masa kids or interns come from Tel Aviv and they get off the bus to help out the soldiers, I am just so happy to see those young people.
Young people have always been the draw for you.
Yeah, always my job. But again, we had a soldier tell the students, this was in the beginning, let's call it November time, November, December. Every other week, they come up with a different angle how to be against Israel. And one time was that we don't protect the civilians.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked the soldier right in front of the college students, now what about not protecting these Gaza people when you're there? He just came out, he was there for 2 weeks.
Did you prepare him that you would be asking him this question?
No. And he knew English. He knew English well, so it wasn't like he had a hard time with the words. He says, our job is to take care of them, make sure they don't get harmed. I said, well, do you see them walking by? Yeah, we see them walking by. And we don't, but sometimes when they walk by, they signal Hamas where we're at. And the young people heard that.
And it makes a huge difference when you think about what that must be like on the ground.
Yeah. So that means that if this young boy who's 20 years old, 21, a soldier in Gaza, then does something to that civilian
who's signaling where they are.
Who signals, his life can become endangered.
Yeah.
Right? They can shoot a missile, they can fire something. Now you know why. Now you know why he might, let's say, take that person and arrest him or push him aside.
You have lived here for 42 years. This is not your first rodeo as far as war. How is this different?
Well, we've had other wars here, and my sons have also been in those wars, but it wasn't on this grand scale like it is now. Also, I believe Israel right now is at a stage. In the past, they're happy with just defending themselves, which is what the world wants them to do. But now Israel wants to win the war. And that is where the argument is coming, because they want to win the war to stop the southern border invasions and problems. If not, every 2-3 years, it's another slew of rockets. I mean, the people in Sderot, they said on October 7th, we saw all those rockets coming. We thought it was normal.
People don't really understand that.
Yeah.
There's even footage from Nova of some people saying, okay, just wait this out. Yeah, they're going to go back on stage. So you feel like there's a push right now to really stop this.
That's why Israel is holding back, I think, a little bit. I mean, I'm not holding back. They're not ending the war.
There's more strategy, long-term strategy being built right now.
Again, the world, America and others always say you can defend yourself, defend yourself. They didn't say eradicate that. They didn't say win the war.
Right. You are a religious man, and I'm curious where you think we are. The things that happen to Jews in every generation, where are we in that cycle?
I'm not a prophet.
Okay, we'll scratch that off here.
People might think, I might think I'm a prophet, but I'm really not. You have to realize one thing, which is very, very, very difficult. And I still do not understand it. And that does go through my head here and there. We had a Holocaust. The state of Israel came about. There's always some concept of death that happens, okay? Aaron's 2 sons with the Mishkan, the tabernacle, the inauguration, they were killed. I don't understand what it's about, but there's always some sort of, you might want to call it kapara. I'm not a philosopher, but always some sort of death that has to happen before another grand thing comes.
Some kind of birth, some kind of growth.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still not understanding it.
Are you scared? Do you feel unsafe? Do you worry about your safety?
No, I'm a cool guy. No. I mean, I drive down those army bases down south, right? Those dirt roads doesn't faze me. I just keep on driving to get there. Some of them are really, they ruin your car. Those dirt roads to those bases, And sometimes we do see missiles flying in the air, No, thank God, I'm not scared. Maybe that's just how I was built.
I think maybe.
Just, go out and get the job done. We went to a base in the north. He told you like 10 seconds, 15 seconds to get into that shelter. Nothing happened, thank God. Right? Nothing happened. another Army base that's calling us. We might go there. 4 seconds up north. But they're not calling us now.
A little hot right now. Yeah.
Like I said, I feel terrible. This little country, Israel, is crying, is in pain. Israel's in pain. I don't know if people realize that. And the whole world, with this tiny, tiny little country, is questioning it or doubting it or criticizing it. And then there's another little part, not Israel, of Gaza, which is like even another little sliver. And they're very, very worried about that. They're more worried about Israel and Gaza than they are with the Russians and Ukraine, which is probably half of Europe, if you want to say. It's like huge.
Why do you think that is?
You have to ask God. I think a little bit, I hate to philosophize, it's a little bit also of God reminding us that we're Jews and that we have a role in this world. We're being held by the world to a higher standard, which is fine. We should know that standard. Even though we're being held at a higher standard, we still have to defend ourselves and not get a hit and not do anything or a slap in the face. You're still supposed to defend yourself and take care of it and not sit back. That's what we have to do. We have to defend who we are as a people and a nation. I think it's pretty obvious. I don't know why the rest of the world doesn't see it and always tries to stop us because, again, they only want us to defend ourselves and not win the war. We win the war, we're changing the chemistry of the Middle East. And I think they're a little afraid of that.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Jeff, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a really interesting conversation.
I enjoyed it very much. I hope I said the right things.
You said the Jeff things, and that's the most important.
Well, start me up. I'll never stop, right?
That's right. Thanks again.
Sure.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe to What Came After wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us online at whatcameafter.com.